How do you feel about hope? I used to think hope was a waste of time. But the more I've learned about hope and tested it for myself over the years, the more I've come to appreciate hope, prioritize it, and encourage it in the lives of the people I coach and the people I teach. And today we're going to talk about the power of hope via 3 different studies. One has to do with ice buckets, one has to do with swimming rats, and one has to do with employee engagement. Hello and welcome back to Making Hope Happen. I'm Lori Mage, and this is day 8 in the 100-day challenge where I'm sharing with you 100 of my favorite tools, tips, and ideas to help you and me more effectively navigate change, master our transitions, and make our dreams come true. Thanks for joining me today. Let's go ahead and get started. I think we can all agree that navigating change, mastering transitions, and making our dreams come true requires a certain degree of persistence and a certain degree of pain tolerance, which is probably why most of us resist change, which is probably why so many of us procrastinate on our dreams and goals or avoid it altogether. But there's hope. Literally, there's hope. Research studies have shown that cultivating hope in ourselves and those around us can help us persevere through some of the toughest, most challenging times. And I'm going to share with you 3 different research studies that demonstrate this. In this first study, we have 2 different control groups. One control group is asked to think about an important goal and imagine how they might go about achieving it. And they were asked to do that for 15 minutes. Think about an important goal and think about how they'd go about achieving that for 15 minutes. Another control group during this time was asked to, they were either reading a magazine or a book, but the topic was something along the lines of like home organization or something like that. Then they were brought back, and here's where the study really happened. Each person was asked to place their entire hand into a bucket of ice water for as long as they could for up to 5 minutes. Now, the activity is meant to be painful but not harmful, and the goal is to measure an individual's tolerance for pain. Well, guess what they found out? The group who was asked to think about an important goal and imagine how they might achieve it, they left their hands in the bucket on an average of 150 seconds. Whereas the group who was asked to just read a book, they left their hands in the ice bucket for an average of 90 seconds. That's right, those who cultivated hope that wasn't even specific to the activity at hand, they left their hand in the ice bucket for an entire minute longer than those who didn't participate in the hope activity. Hope increased pain tolerance by 67%. That's pretty awesome, right? I mean, if you could tolerate pain for 67% longer, might you be able to stick to your workout goals a little longer? Maybe you could have some pain tolerance in starting that business, or maybe you'd be better able to support your team members through a new product launch, right? So 67% more pain tolerance. Incredible. Just by thinking about an important goal and how you might go about achieving that. Okay, I promised you 3 studies, so let's go ahead and look at the second study. Here we have swimming rats. Now, I don't condone this study, but it's worth mentioning and bringing up. It's really interesting. Back in the 1950s, there was this well-known Harvard graduate student, and he was working with Johns Hopkins University, and they were doing a series of rather unorthodox experiments that included water, buckets, and rats. And through his research, he was trying to find out how long could a rat swim before it drowned. I know it sounds terrible. Just hang in there with me. There's a really important point here, and I promise. So here's what he did. In the first scenario, he placed the little rat in this water that was circulating, and on average, the rats lasted about 15 minutes before they gave up and they sank to the bottom of the bucket. Again, I know it's terrible, but here's where it gets really interesting. In the follow-up experiment, just before each rat started to give up and sink, just before that 15-minute mark, the researcher would pull out the drowning rat, dry it off gently, give it a second or 2 to rest, and then put him back in the bucket of circulating water. Now, having been dried off and placed back in the bucket, how long do you think the rat swam before it sank to the bottom of the bucket this time? Another 15 minutes, maybe less, maybe a little more? Would you have guessed 60 hours? Yep, 60 hours, that's 60, or 2.5 days. Isn't that crazy? The rat was only taken out of the water for just a couple moments, dried off, and temporarily saved. Those rats survived 240 times longer than the one that was not given any intervention at all. And why is that? Well, the researchers concluded that saving the rat from drowning, even temporarily, gave that rat hope. It gave that rat hope. And in this case, the hope increased the rat's pain tolerance and their level of persistence 240 times. Again, amazing, right? All right, I've got one more research study for you to try to prove that hope is more than wishful thinking, that hope is a strategy and hope is helpful. And this time we're going to take a look at how hope impacts people at work. And you don't have to worry, no ice buckets, no swimming rats, nothing like that. No one was harmed in this particular study. Instead, here we have researchers at Gallup poll. And what they did is they set out to measure the difference in employee engagement between two different categories of employees. One category of employees, they said that they worked for a leader who inspired hope. Another category of employees, they worked for a leader who did not inspire hope. Now, can you guess which category of employees was more engaged than the other? Was it the employee who worked for a leader who inspired hope, or the group of employees who worked for leaders who did not inspire hope? Well, based on what we've talking about today, you've probably guessed hope, right? Hope matters, and it matters significantly. Yeah, but to what level? Can you guess by how much? How much more engaged were the employees who worked for a leader who inspired hope versus the employees who worked for a leader who didn't inspire hope? What do you think that number was? Well, here's what they found out. Employees who had a leader who inspired hope, their engagement scores were on average 69%, which is huge. Some of the best organizations measure employee engagement between 30 and 35%. That's it. So 69% is giant. Seriously, it's huge. So what do you think the engagement scores were of the employees who worked for a leader who doesn't inspire hope? Since the best of the best organizations are at 30 or 35, would you guess 15%, maybe 10%, 8%, something like that? How about less than 1% engagement? It barely registered. Employees working for a leader who did not inspire hope were less than 1% engaged. Maybe, just maybe, fostering a culture of hope is a business strategy. Okay, now back to you and me. How's your hope? Do you have hope? Do you believe your future will be better than the present? And are you willing to do what it takes to make it so? How's that pain tolerance of yours? One way we can increase our pain tolerance is to cultivate hope. And one way we can work that hope muscle is to do the activity from the first study, which was to identify an important goal for yourself and set aside 15 minutes, ideally in a distraction-free zone, to imagine how you're going to make that happen. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got value out of the video, please subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot more wisdom to share in the 90+ days ahead. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I'd love to know if you watched it, if you enjoyed it, and if you're really feeling it, let me know what resonated with you most today by sharing it in the comments below. Until next time, I hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Day 8. Let's do this.